In the name of God, Creator, pain-bearer, and Spirit of life. Let's set the scene here. At the beginning of this chapter 6, Jesus is in acrimonious confrontation with the old enemy. The old enemy, the scribes and the Pharisees. His disciples technically break the law by picking some grain from a crop and eating it on the Sabbath as they walked along. Then in the synagogue, he heals a man with a withered hand. They'd been waiting for him to do something like this. He did, and they were furious and conferred what they might do to him. That's back in verse 11. Legalistic bureaucrats. We're still burdened with them in this day and age. Not a trace of empathy. Not a trace or even just casual sympathy. Nothing. Certainly no love to be seen. Put yourself in Jesus' place for a minute. Here he is, doing nothing but good, healing and helping desperately needy people. And what does he get? Appreciation, acclaim, thanks? No. He gets hatred and threats of violence. So what does he do? Verse 12 tells us that he went out to the mountain to pray. He prayed. Then after choosing his 12 core disciples, he came down with them and stood on a level place, down from the mountain where he was praying, down onto the plain. And there's another sermon in that phrase, I tell you, absolutely. So the words we read this morning are part of what has been dubbed the Sermon on the Plain, not the Mount. In it, we're shown a vision of a new world, and with it, new ways to behave, a new lifestyle, if you like. Luke is telling us that God is the merciful one. He is affirming the scriptural image that is presented as the nature of God. This image is beautifully and fully portrayed in the man, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus begins his sermon with a carefully balanced series of blessings and woes, positives and negatives just juxtaposed. He reveals a way of thinking that is absolutely at odds with what many then and now still consider to be the natural ways of humanity in the world. This radical Jesus has once again turned everything we think to be real and true on its head. Love your enemies. What? Do good to those who hate you. Oh, this is too hard. Too hard for most people to hear. Certainly too hard to put into action, to actually do. Then, to cap it all off, he affirms what we really knew all along. God is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Now that goes against everything we really inwardly think and hope, I believe. But we know it's true. We see it all the time. People who want no connection with God, and that's the majority now in our society, mostly seem to thrive. But Luke promises that one who lives and acts in this radically God-like way will reap great rewards. The thing is, the rewards he is promising are not the rewards we immediately think of and perhaps covet. We probably won't end up as millionaires living in palaces, but the promise is we will experience rewards that often the millionaire covets. That's an experience of the presence of the Spirit of love within us and the simple joy and peace that brings. We all know there are many storms we experience in life, but perhaps one of the most vicious and severe is when someone close to us, someone we love, dies. Many try to forget, to put that searing experience out of their mind. To try to forget, that's not healthy. If we've loved another, there's no need to let that love die with them, to push the memory away. So today we celebrate All Saints and All Souls Day, also known as All Hallows, a Christian festival celebrated in honour of all the saints, known and unknown. In earlier times, the celebration was dedicated to remembering all the martyrs from the early church. But the Feast of All Saints achieved great prominence in the 9th century. In the reign of the Byzantine Emperor Leo VI, known as the Wise. He lived from 866 to 911 for the historians amongst us. His wife, the Empress Theophano, lived a devout life. And after her death in 893, her husband built a church, intending to dedicate it to her. When he was forbidden to do so, he decided to dedicate it to all saints, so that if his wife were in fact one of the righteous, she would also be honoured whenever the feast was celebrated. The Wise. According to tradition, it was Leo who expanded the feast from a commemoration of all martyrs to a general commemoration of all saints, whether martyrs or not. This story is only a snippet of the complex history of this celebration, which had its real origins in pagan rites many centuries before Christ. But in Christianity, whilst the dead are solemnly remembered during worship on All Saints' Sunday, the festival is ultimately a celebration of Christ's victory over death. So this is a time when we each can especially remember loved ones who have died. It need not be a sad time, but a time of gentle reflection and a time for remembering those loved ones and the blessings they brought to us. Spouses, parents, brothers, sisters, dear friends. We can experience a feeling of gentle warmth as we especially recall those people and hold them in our hearts in love. At the time of communion, during the Eucharist, I invite anyone who wishes to light a candle in memory of a special person to come and do so. And I'm going to ask you, if you would like to do that, to come and do it during the offertory hymn. May the Lord be with you. Amen.